welcome to another installment of California Unearthed. We're sitting here in front of the three Shastas, Shasta Lake, Shasta Dam, and Mount Shasta. Unfortunately, you could not see Mount Shasta today due to the smoke in the air, and it's kind of windy up here, so you have to excuse my wild hair, my mad scientist look. But you're probably wondering what we're doing up here at the Three Shastas, seeing as the name of this vlog is the Cental Valley Cemetery Project. But I figured we might as well start the story off where the Cental Valley Cemetery Project began, and that's here at the lake and at the dam. With the construction of Shasta Dam in the late 30s and 40s, the dam was going to end up, or the lake was going to end up flooding a few communities like Kennett, Copper City, that dotted the area behind the dam here. And so what they did was they went through and surveyed and found as many graveyards, cemeteries that they could, and they ended up finding 26 of them that numbered anywhere from 1 to 66 people buried in the cemetery. And they did a very extensive research job in finding out who the relatives were of these people, and got their permission to dig them up and reinter them into the Cental Valley Cemetery, which was created just for this purpose. That was created in 1941 by an act of Congress to reinter the people that were going to be then flooded over into the Cental Valley Cemetery. And so there was 301 people that were reinterred. 3 people, like I said, that they had got a hold of family members to get permission to be able to dig them up and reinter them and to find out what they wanted to do with their remains. 3 of those families decided to have one of them reinterred in the Redding Memorial Park. Another one was reinterred into the Old Catholic Cemetery in downtown Redding, and the third was shipped off to their family in Kirkwood, California. So the other 298 were reinterred into the Cental Valley Cemetery. So with the graveyards that are now underwater, there may possibly be some people that are still buried, but they're now buried under the lake. And the problem with trying to find out who some of these individuals were was that a lot of these individuals passed away during the time of the gold rush era. And back in 1940, there wasn't too many people around that remembered who was buried there or knew the people who were buried there. So a lot of them are unknowns, and they're still unknown today, but they still dug them up and reinterred them into the Cental Valley Cemetery, whether they were unknowns or if they were known. So Cheryl has a list of names of the cemeteries. I'm going to have her read off for you while I film the dam, and then we'll take a quick jaunt down to the cemetery and go check it out. Come join me.
So the names of the cemeteries were Crouch, Caratini, Slag Dump, Strobridge, Kennett, Pitt, Pig, Elmore, Young Tuna, Old Antler, New Antler, Rapart, Baird, Radcliffe, Wycote, Curl, Treats Pasture, Old Campbell, New Campbell, Nasona, Copper City, Popejoy, Delamar, Silverthorne, Reno Canyon, and Brock.
So we are just pulling up, sorry it's a little bouncy, pulling up to the front gate of the cemetery. As you can see, it is surrounded with homes and residential area. Let's go out and check this out. Here we are at the Cental Valley Cemetery. Like I said, this was created in 1941. This was created for the reinterment of people buried in the Shasta Reservoir area that was going to be flooded by the dam. So there was 301 people dug up and reinterred. Actually, that's not true. There's 301, yes, that were dug up, but only 298 were reinterred in this cemetery here. There was 3 that the family members decided to reinter in other places. One was at the Reading Cemetery. Another one was at the old Catholic cemetery downtown in Reading, and then the third was shipped off to family members in, I believe, Kirkwood, California. But the other 298 are buried here in this cemetery in Shasta Lake City. As you can see, it is surrounded by residential areas on the way in. If you didn't know it was here, you probably wouldn't know that it ever existed here. It's kind of tucked away around a bunch of houses. My aunt actually used to live at the end of Hardin Brook, and it was right behind the cemetery here. So I remember coming in here in the mid-'80s one time and kind of strolling around in here. But that was almost 30 years ago, and I haven't been back since, or not since, but I haven't been back till last week when I came and checked this place out before filming. So out of the 301 bodies, 118 were white and 183 were Indian. And if you look at that list of names that Cheryl gave us, a lot of those names were Indian names, and some of them very popular family names here in the area, like Popejoy. And so what they did, what the federal government ended up doing, was they created the Central Valley Cemetery, which I'm standing in now. And then what they did was they created the United States Reservoir Indian Cemetery, which is just north of where I'm standing. Let's turn around. Just that way, just north of the cemetery here. And what they did was they created that for the purpose of the burial of Native Americans only. No whites could be buried in there, just Native Americans. The Central Valley Cemetery was created for the whites, and the Reservoir Cemetery, which is just adjacent to this one, was created for the Native Americans. And part of that, and that was an act of Congress in 1941 that created that cemetery. And so part of that was that the Native Americans could be buried there for free. So no burial provisions and no taxes had to be paid to the government for the burials. So that's kind of a cool thing. Hopefully the government stuck to that. You know how they don't like to stick to their treaties and things with the Native Americans, but hopefully that stuck. So we're going to kind of walk around in here a little bit. I'm going to face the camera the other direction because it is kind of sunny out here, and Cheryl and I are going to have to watch out for rattlesnakes. It is rattlesnake season, and as you can tell, the grass is pretty big in here, and so we don't want to get caught up with something, a little surprise. So let's take a walk around, and we'll check this place out. It's pretty big. So let's start off here at the beginnings of the cemetery. Sorry if it's a little jerky. I fall into some ruts every now and then. This is one of the ones that was reinterred from Copper City. So this is the white section of the cemetery. Very old headstones. A gentleman by the name of Joseph Mashburn was a gentleman in charge of digging up and reinterring the bodies, and they did that between February 11th, 1942 and March 23rd of 1942. And it was a pretty intensive project. What they actually did was they created 2 novels of books, and they would get a hold of each family member to find out if they wanted their family member buried here at the cemetery or have something else done with them. And they also gave them the option to be present at the reinterment and also be present when they dug them up as well. I know, like I said, one of them, a gentleman from Copper City named D.P. Miles, he was the one that's buried in the Redding Cemetery, and he was given to a woman, a family member named Mrs. Eaton. I don't know if she's any relation to Judge Eaton, the famous Judge Eaton of Shasta County. I'm sure she is, but I can't verify that. And that was one of the 3 I was saying that they chose to bury elsewhere. And this is still an active cemetery. People are still being buried out here. And it kind of reminds me of Whiskeytown Cemetery a little bit. Pretty much you can do whatever you want out here. To honor your loved ones, which is really cool. I kind of like that idea. And as you can see, they're just kind of scattered around here and there. No real lines or rows. And as you can see, this is why you're worried about the rattlesnakes. And then we have things like this here. No name, unknown. Here's another one. This one possibly has a name. I just can't read it from the sunlight here. Oh, here's another one. You just come across them as you're walking around. And we'll get to a little more decorative ones here in a few minutes. Like I said, I came out here a couple days ago just to kind of check it out because I hadn't been out here since the mid-80s. So about 30 years, and I didn't realize how big this place really was. It's pretty huge. There's another one. And I've seen these 2 volumes. I was reading them the other day. And they actually have the list of names of people that they dug up and reinterred. So we have the names of the individuals, and sadly, a lot of them are unknowns. And the reason for that was a lot of these burials were going on back in the gold rush, back in the 1860s. And in 1940, there's not a whole lot of people left around that knew who they were and knew who were buried there. Here's a good example of a grave that's decorated. And then right next to that one, there's no name. And I'm sure the county has a record of who's actually buried here and where they're buried. Because what they did, like I said, was such an intensive job at creating this that how could they not have kept records of where they buried them. They kept records of where they brought them from. Here we go. Go up the hill here. From what I understand, the federal government still has jurisdiction on taking care of the Indian section of the cemetery, but I don't know that for sure. But as for the Congressional Act in 1941, that's what it said. I'm getting all my information from letters from 1942, written from the Department of the Interior, and from those 2 volumes that I was looking at yesterday. So I'm getting my information straight from the source, the original documents. Like I said, falling in the rut. There's other old cemeteries right around this area. I know that there's an Indian cemetery on the way up to Cinnamoody in Shasta Lake. It is now on private property. And there's other ones. I know there's another one at Churntown, which used to be an old gold rush town, and that's now on private property as well. And during the building of the dam, actually, Churntown was a camp for some of the workers, dam workers. And Churntown just about a mile or two down from the dam. It's not very far. So we're at the top of the cemetery right now. I'm going to go back down, but this road here leads over to Hardenbrook. Like I was saying before, the way I came about 30 years ago when I was a kid. Looks like that's the boundary, possibly. Oh, maybe not. Gate straight ahead of us there. And if you go on Find a Grave, a lot of these graves, there's about 500 graves on Find a Grave that people have documented in here. I know there's many, many more than that that still need to be documented. And it's something I've kind of gotten into this summer, along with working with the Historical Society, is doing cemetery revitalization and entering in names on Find a Grave so that people can easily find their ancestors. And I've had some luck with it. I've had 4 or 5 people that have emailed me and thanked me for adding their relatives that they didn't know were buried in Redding. So it's kind of nice. This one is kind of hidden in the bushes here. Sadly, they need to kind of clean that up a little bit. But you look to the left and right, you'll find headstones inside bushes, inside ivy. And then just some out in the open. There's some back in there. You can drive into the cemetery, but I would not suggest driving up the road I just walked in pretty large ruts. So Cheryl just pointed something out that was really cool, and I missed it last time I was here, and I missed it today. But like I said before, the cemetery is split into two different sections: the Reservoir Indian Cemetery and the White Shasta, or not Shasta, sorry, Central Valley Cemetery. Uh, but I didn't know exactly where one started, one ended, and it's actually really easy, and I feel like an idiot because I didn't see it. But in the Indian Cemetery, which is right in front of me, and I'll flip the camera around in a minute, they actually have signs out saying where each family or each burials came from, the city it came from. Pope Joy, Kennett. There's actually a little sign for each section. They didn't just, put everybody together. They separated them by towns that they came from. So let's go check that out. So this is the beginning of the cemetery right here. And then we're right at the gate. So the Indian Cemetery is to the right of the gate. Central Valley Cemetery is to the left. So let's go down the road here and check this out. See a flagpole right in front of me with no flag on it. I've seen pictures with a flag on it.
To your right, there's a sign that says antler.
Ah, here we go, antler. The antler area that's now under the lake. I'm sure there's some headstones in the grass there somewhere. And you'll hear Cheryl pop in every now and again because she can see these better than I can.
And to your left is Waikote and Radcliffe up above that.
So Waikote, Radcliffe, above that. We'll go down there in a second. Let's go straight ahead for right now. What's that one?
That one is the Vandali Plot 2.
Van-
In the beginning it was Plot 1.
Oh, Vandali, Plot 2. So if some of these names sound familiar, they're some of the names that we spout off at the beginning of the video. You said you saw Pope Joy somewhere?
That's to the left.
Oh, up there, okay.
But right ahead of is Silverthorn.
Yeah, so we
There's
have
quite a few.
Silverthorn right ahead of us.
Yes.
The old Merle Haggard running arounds, kind of. There's a lot of recent burials out here as well. All right, we have some more up here. As you can tell, this goes back pretty far. It's pretty big back here. Looks like this is the end of the road here. It looks like those are probably the last few burials over here. Oh. Still a plot. So that's the end of the road there, into the cemetery. So let's go off to the right, see what we have over here.
Another sign, Elmore Pit.
Elmore Pit. I remember that name. There's another sign down there. I can't read that from here though. Let's see what that says.
This is the Pope Joy area.
Popejoy. And what they were saying was that some of these cemeteries or graveyards had anywhere between 1 to 66 bodies. I don't know if I relayed that information yet, but some cemeteries are smaller than others.
Over to your right, we have plots that are from Bowen, Bragetta, Bernaga, and Lawson.
And none of those were on the list that I remember. So if somebody was to come in here and put all these ones on Find a Grave, the smart thing to do was to put them with their places of origin. Sounds like a project to me. There's another sign up there. Let's see what that one says. So this is the end of this cemetery. To the left. Beautiful spot, that's for sure. Hope you guys enjoyed this view into a little bit of Shasta County history, along with Shasta Lake, Shasta Dam history. This is a beautiful cemetery. Sorry it's a little on the dry side. It is the middle of summer. But during the spring, flowers are out. This is kind of a beautiful spot to come and just hang out. Yeah, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, hang out with the graves, but it is a beautiful area. And inside and surrounded around residential homes, you would never know that this was here. So the one thing I do say, if you do come out here with utmost respect for these people and their families. Don't vandalize, don't litter, leave it the way that you found it when you came here, and just have respect. Pretty much that's all I have to say about this vlog and for this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like what you see. I know this one's a little bit more kind of run around watching me trip every now and then over ruts and rocks, but hope you enjoyed it. I have some other things coming up real soon, and one video I am going to do pretty much not a historic video. It's just going to be about me, myself, and I. Tell you who I am and why I'm doing these and what I'm all about, kind of. And hopefully you'll enjoy that. A little bit more candid. And that'll be the only one that I do that's like that. Everything else will be pretty much historic based or just fun. Just going out and having some fun and taking you along with us. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one.